Hello and welcome to the Junior Ambassador Orientation video for 2021. We are so excited that you've joined the program and we're excited to go over some of the basics of the Junior Ambassador program with you today. On this orientation, we'll go over a little bit of U.S. Government 101, just the basics about how all of this stuff works and how it intermingles with our advocacy. We'll talk a little bit about the Junior Ambassador program and what you can expect and what is expected of you. And then we'll go over, of course, how to share your story and how to take action, which is the most important part of all of this. Junior ambassadors are a group of teenage leaders that work to share their arthritis stories in person and online to help all people living with arthritis. So junior ambassadors are really the champions to ensuring that everyone knows that kids get arthritis too. As I speak now, we have about 80 junior ambassadors in the program across the country from ages 13 to 17 that are advocating at all times in all different ways. But first, maybe you are new to arthritis, or you need a refresher, or you don't know much about arthritis other than your own story. Whether you have arthritis yourself, or you have a friend or a sibling that has arthritis, it's always good to get a little bit of a refresher. So arthritis is sort of like an umbrella term for a lot of different diagnoses. Juvenile arthritis is more than just juvenile arthritis. We know that there is rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and osteoarthritis, just to name a couple of them. But there are almost 100 or over 100 different kinds of arthritis. So it's kind of an informal way of referring to a joint disease or disease that creates joint pain of some sort. Like I mentioned, there are more than 100 types of arthritis and related conditions. So that's what we're talking about whenever we say arthritis. Maybe you didn't know that arthritis is the leading cause of disability in the United States, and over 300,000 children have arthritis. And so that is a lot of children to be living in pain. We might know this a little bit more commonly, but some of the main symptoms or most reported symptoms that patients have are, of course, swelling, pain, stiffness, and decreased range of motion. So you might have felt some of that or seen your friends or family experience some of that, but those are the most common reported symptoms of any form of arthritis. Some types of arthritis can even affect your heart, eyes, lungs, kidneys, skin, all kinds of different organs and things like that. Again, with all of these different types of arthritis, they can affect your body in a lot of different ways as they all work differently. Severe arthritis, as we know, can cause chronic pain and make it hard to do everyday activities. So hopefully this gives you a bit of a good either refresher, reminder, or an introduction to arthritis in general. And you'll be learning more about other people's stories throughout your time in the Junior Ambassador program. You'll get to ask questions and hear from others about their experience with arthritis. Jumping into our U.S. Government 101 lesson, we want to talk about Congress. And so you've probably heard of Congress, you've heard of congressmen, congresswomen, members of Congress in general. But these are two bodies of groups of people that make laws. So you have 435 House representatives, so that is one chamber of Congress. The other chamber is 100 senators. And so together, like I mentioned, these two bodies or chambers make laws, and these are your members of Congress. They know what laws to enact and what to talk about with each other based on the stories that they hear from their constituents, people like you and me that live in their state and in their area. So each of us has one representative. So that's someone that represents your congressional district. So that is an area close to you. For some states that may be a little bit smaller or have a smaller population, that could be the full state. But for somewhere like California or New York or Texas or many other states, they're broken up into congressional districts. And so you will have one representative and then two senators. So the two senators both represent the full state, and you'll be able to contact all three of them about federal issues. We encourage you to take a few minutes and find your legislators by using our legislator lookup tool on the website with this link here. It's bit.ly/legislator-lookup. And you can take a few minutes and go find your legislators. You'll be able to see everyone, all the way from the President of the United States to your local delegate or assembly person. So we encourage you to take a few minutes and do a little bit of research or homework to see who your members of Congress are. We talk about a lot of key issues in the Junior Ambassador Program, but we want to talk about today just a few of the top level ones so that you have an introduction to some of the topics that we'll cover. Throughout the year, as we introduce new topics or talk about something new, we'll be sure to explain the issue and give you all of the history and background you need, but this should help you get a little bit of an idea of what we're working on. So the first thing here is juvenile arthritis awareness. And this, of course, is one of the biggest things that the Junior Ambassador Program works on, is that many people do not know that over 300,000 kids in the United States are living with a form of JA. So as Junior Ambassadors, we work to raise awareness to let people know that kids get arthritis too. And so whether we're talking about any of these other topics, juvenile arthritis awareness generally falls within each of them because we are a group of Junior Ambassadors. We're a group of 13 to 17-year-old teens that are working on advocating for arthritis. The next one here is the pediatric rheumatology workforce shortage. And so that's a mouthful, but we know that even though over 300,000 kids in the United States are living with arthritis, there are only about 490 pediatric rheumatologists. Those are doctors that are specifically trained and certified to treat kids with arthritis. So we advocate very frequently for programs that will help to improve this shortage, to get more doctors in different areas that may need them most. And so you'll be hearing about that, especially throughout this year. We anticipate that it'll be a hot topic. Generally, another key topic is access to care. We know that the administrative burden or the work that goes into treating arthritis can feel like a full-time job sometimes. So we have a bunch of different topics that fall under this access to care umbrella. Those are things like being able to see a doctor, like the pediatric rheumatology workforce shortage, being able to access your medication, and all of our other key issues kind of fall under this umbrella. And so we'll be talking about those throughout the year. The final one we want to talk about today is the Congressional Arthritis Caucus. Congress has these kind of special clubs almost called caucuses, and they cover a variety of different topics, and members can join these caucuses to talk about specific issues that are important to them and talk about how they plan to help people with arthritis, especially in the Congressional Arthritis Caucus. So you can check on the legislator lookup tool if your member of Congress is on the Congressional Arthritis Caucus, and you'll be able to either encourage them to join or thank them for joining. So these are a few of the top key topics that we talk about in the program, and we're excited to tackle a few others throughout the year with you. There are a few key features of the Junior Ambassador Program that we want to be sure to highlight for you today so that you know what to expect. The first, of course, is our monthly newsletters. You'll receive a newsletter from me once a month, and these will include an action opportunity, a featured story from another Junior Ambassador, and any key updates that you may need to know. So those newsletters will be your central place to learn everything new about the program. Of course, if you have any questions in between, feel free to send us a message and we'll be sure to address it or include it in the next newsletter or whatever it may be. You'll also have opportunities throughout each year to learn and share with one another. You'll get to speak with your legislators via email or phone or in a legislative meeting even. You'll get to talk with your friends, family, and your community in general. We'll have virtual and possibly in the future in-person events. And we encourage you to submit your personal arthritis story to be included in our newsletter. We will talk about our star stories in just a minute, but those are great opportunities to be able to share an advocacy story that you may have, a time that you advocated for yourself or anything like that. But we'll cover that in just a moment. We also this year are going to start doing quarterly webinars with Junior Ambassadors specifically. So these will be topics that you all select. Key topics that you're especially interested in, and we'll get some guest speakers in, and you'll be able to learn about some really, really interesting topics and ask questions and learn more throughout the year. So those will happen about every 3 months or so, and we'll be sure to let you know when they are coming up. The final portion of our program I want to let you know about is our Junior Ambassador Chats, or Junior Ambassador Hangouts, we call them sometimes. But this is another thing that happens just about quarterly or every 3 months or so, is that we host a casual kind of Zoom or Teams or Google Hangout kind of call, essentially a video call, for everyone in the program to be able to get together and just hang out and talk, learn more about each other, make some friends, share your tips and tricks for advocacy or with your arthritis or anything like that. So we encourage you to join those if you'd like to build up your junior ambassador community a little bit. So these are some of the key parts of the program, and we're going to dive into just a couple pieces of this in a little bit more detail. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we do collect star stories from our junior ambassadors just to feature any hard work that you've been doing on the advocacy front. So we encourage you to submit your story to the link you see here. That's bit.ly/JR*story. And this link will be included in your monthly newsletter as well, so you don't have to hold on to it if you don't have a story at the moment. But we'd love to hear any stories that you have about possibly volunteering in person or online for a local Arthritis Foundation event. We want to hear if you shared a presentation with your school or your church or a community group or anything like that. If you did any sort of fundraising or petitions, or taught anybody how to use our Action Center or anything like that. Any sort of advocacy story that you may have that you'd like to share with your fellow junior ambassadors, we'd love to hear about. And so this is an exciting new thing that we've been doing for the past year in the Junior Ambassador Program, and we're excited to hear your stories, so feel free to send them our way. A key component to advocacy is your arthritis story, or your one-sentence story, as we like to call it, when you just get started with it. So we like to say that you are an expert when it comes to your arthritis story. Whether you have arthritis yourself, or your sibling does, or your mom, or a friend, or anyone close to you. No matter what your relationship to arthritis is, you have an arthritis story of your own. There is a way that arthritis has affected you or motivated you to start advocating. There might be specific issues that you're especially interested in, and we want to hear about that, and your legislators want to hear about that, and people that you are advocating to and raising awareness with need to hear these stories from you as well. So a few key tips that we have in putting together your arthritis story is to be honest, of course, to tell your story and to tell it as it happens to you. Be concise. So you want to kind of stick to the basics of your story, and you can expand on them when people ask questions or it comes up. The final point here is to be you. Of course, it's a lot like being honest. It's just tell your story, tell it in your own words, and be confident in that because you, again, are the expert of your own story. So we have a couple of one-sentence story examples here, and these are basically little snippets or elevator pitches, you may have heard them called, that you can say to someone in a very short amount of time that will let them know what you are advocating for. So you're advocating for arthritis patients and how arthritis affects you or your loved one. So a few of the examples here I will read. The first one is, my parents spend tons of time on the phone to make sure I get my medicine. They should have more time to play. So this is a great example of one that shows exactly how arthritis can affect a family and how your parents or your guardian or an older sibling might spend a lot of time helping you or your sibling or someone else get the care that they need. And that is why we need to improve access to care. Some other examples here are, without access to my medicine, I wouldn't be able to go to school or even walk my dog. And the final one here says, I had to quit sports when I was a kid because my arthritis got so bad. Kids shouldn't have to do that. And so if you think about your one-sentence story, is there a particular moment in your arthritis journey or since you've known about arthritis that especially stands out to you? Was there a time that you realized you couldn't do something that you loved anymore? Is there a time when you saw your sibling or parent need to make some changes in their life or anything like that? Those are some good things to fuel your one-sentence story. And that's kind of the tagline of your story, essentially. It's kind of like your first opening sentence to get things rolling. And then you'll be able to build it out from there based on whatever you are asking the person you are advocating to do. So take a few moments, think about what your one-sentence story could be. Think about your arthritis story in general. You likely wrote a story to submit with your application for the program, and so that's a good place to start thinking about the things that were important enough to you to include in there. And that's a good place to start for your arthritis story. So now that you've worked on your arthritis story and you have a great story to tell someone, you need someone to talk to. You need someone to tell your story to and advocate to. So we want to introduce you to our legislator lookup tool. You can follow the link at the bottom of the screen here. That's bit.ly/legislator-lookup. And you can write it down or type it into your browser now, and you'll be able to go and enter in your address information, starting with your zip code and then your street address, and it will pull up your legislators all the way from the President of the United States down to your local delegate or assembly person or anything like that. And now you can click on each of these people's names if you want to look at your federal senators or your state senators or anything like that. You can click into them and learn some more personal information about your legislators, like where they went to school, how long they've been in office, what committees they're a part of, some of their staff members' names, and different things like that. You can even find their birthday so that you could send them a happy birthday note just to make sure that you stay on their minds. So we encourage you to take a look through your legislators here, learn more about them, try to learn their names, try to learn what congressional district you're in, which will be next to your federal representative here. Like on the screen here, it says Virginia District 8. So I am in Virginia 8. So take a look, figure out what congressional district you're in, figure out maybe when some of your legislators' birthdays are, and start from there. Once you've done some research on your legislators, it's time to send them a message. So you can click on the little check boxes next to each of the names of the people that you'd like to send a message to, and then you'll get a blank form that looks like this. And you'll be able to add a subject line that tells your legislator what you want to talk to them about. If you want to introduce yourself, you can say, introducing myself as a new constituent, or saying hello, or something like that. And you can type in your message body, which is where you can enter in your arthritis story. So you can tell them all about the basics, at least, of your journey with arthritis, or your experience with arthritis, being a sibling or child of someone with arthritis, or a friend of someone with arthritis. And you can ask them to keep arthritis on their minds, or to encourage them to join the Congressional Arthritis Caucus if they are a senator or representative on the federal level. But whatever your ask is and whatever part of your story you're telling, you can still remember to keep it concise enough that someone will be able to read it relatively quickly and be able to get a response back to you. You'll then put your address information here if it doesn't already populate for you, and it'll be sure to match it with your legislators so that it'll get the message to the right place. So putting your story together, doing your research on your legislators so that you can make your message a little bit more personal, and then sending a message asking them to keep arthritis priorities in mind is where you can get started today in the Junior Ambassador Program. With that, we are so excited to have you as a part of the Junior Ambassador Program. We're excited to see where everything takes us this year and what opportunities we're able to work on together. So if you watched this whole video, be sure to send the code phrase Let's Go 2021 in an email to Stephanie at slivingston@arthritis.org so that you can get credit for this assignment. Otherwise, you'll be hearing from us monthly with your Junior Ambassador newsletter with your assignments and things like that. And if you have any questions in the meantime, again, feel free to email me, email Stephanie Livingston at slivingston@arthritis.org. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining the program, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.